We'll call this October 30th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting to order. I would like to acknowledge that we are holding this meeting on the unceded lands of the Mi'kmaq. Record of attendance, we're good. Any declarations of conflict of interest, anyone? At the outset? Okay. Approval of agenda, additions or deletions. So we are going to move 9G in camera. Is there anything else anyone wanted to add or remove? Good, okay, can I have that motion, please? Okay, moved, seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye, contrary? Motion carried. Okay, staff reports. CAO report. Did you want to do the strategic priorities or?
Yeah, if you want, I can speak to that.
Sure.
Okay, so it's been a little bit of work done and some things accomplished. So in the upper box, the corporate priorities, the Housing Accelerator Fund policy approvals, check, that's been done. And the Culture Parks and Recreation Master Plan, we did receive the final report today in my inbox. I have not opened that email yet, but we do have it, so we can check that. So those two can come off the list, and I was going to suggest that if you were looking for two that are kind of percolating in the next box, the Mariners on Main options. Time is ticking on that, and we've had some different discussions about it. But I did hear an idea at this table that I think we maybe should act on, and that being to put it up for sale, so that with a closing, of course, no sooner than when it is no longer needed by Mariner Center. So that at least puts that option in play. It doesn't mean that that's necessarily where we'll go. It doesn't mean there's a buyer, but it does mean that we're starting to move with that as a possibility while we keep our options open maybe on other things. So if we want to move the Mariners on Main future up, and the first activity would be to create a real estate listing, and we'll continue to work on other options. The second one that I would suggest we move up, and we've talked about this a bit, is the Sweeney Collection. The Sweeney Museum Collection, that we figure out the future on that. I have some indication from council, so we're going to begin discussions. Might be the way to form that, and I would hope that I'd have something to report back to you before Christmas in terms of the appetite that I'm finding on that. So we'll just keep it live on our list if that's fine by you. The boxes below the operational strategies, those have been updated by staff as recently as a couple weeks ago, so that's there for your information. If that meets with your approval, then we'll make those changes. Otherwise, I'm open to comments, questions, or other suggestions.
Anyone? Are these in order? This?
No.
No, okay.
No, they're just there.
I just didn't know if we had set an order and then you could change it anyway. Okay, all right, so no questions for the CAO on his report or the strategic, go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just wondering with regard to the strategic number one, the wharf and the funding MOU, would that be part of the joint council discussions? Are we kind of holding back on that in thinking about the joint council discussions that we're planning to have in November? Just kind of wondering where we are with that. I know.
Yeah, I've procrastinated on that
transitional
one
stuff.
a little bit.
Yeah.
But I have drafted a letter.
Okay.
And part of the question was around the future of the Industrial Commission and the port.
Yeah.
But given that Greg is still helping out there for a short time, what I've drafted to go to him is basically I want on record what his plan would be if he were still there, and so then we have that documented, and we can talk about, if his idea was to hold debt, for instance, within the Industrial Commission or within the Port Authority,
Yeah.
as a local share for for improvements,
Yeah.
then that's on record, and we can talk about that between municipalities. If it was a different model where we would contribute from our own resources and maybe we would incur debt, that's a different discussion, but still a discussion. So I've in what I've written to go to Greg is just clarity on what his vision for that was so that
Okay.
it's not lost.
Great, thank you.
Okay?
Okay, so that joint meeting,
Yes.
I won't be there, but you know that.
Yep.
Okay, I won't be there, but you'll be there. Thank you.
I can give you the trailer in camera later if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay, fire department. Chief's here. Come tell us about our party. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Any questions for the chief? Chief, is there anything you need to share with us? You good?
New? Excellent.
Excellent. 11 new volunteers. Good. Any questions for the chief? Good. Okay.
Oh, Val?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just wondering if I can be informed about the relationship between the fire department the building, the fire department building, and the use of this second floor, and who is responsible for the policies and operations of that space on the second floor. Just, I don't know how it works.
Jeff and I will probably answer that together. We have a usage agreement with the volunteers to manage the facility up to a certain point, and then we, the town, have an obligation to, manage the asset properly for the taxpayer as well.
And so under the management agreement, it is the volunteers that get to develop the policy for how it's used and under what conditions. Is that fair to say?
Yes, within some parameters. I mean, we have to make sure that whatever happens there makes sense and adheres to the town policy.
Sure, okay. So would the town policies include equity, diversity, and inclusion?
Absolutely.
They would. Okay, that's great, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I can inform you more on that in terms of providing you with a copy of the agreement, if you'd like that, and if there's any other issues that we should discuss, and I think I know there is, we can.
Thanks. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Operational services, and Chad's not here, but if you have questions for him, or if there's something you think you want to ask the CAO. Go ahead.
Just wondering, I know in our area, like at Milton area, there's been a number of water line breaks, and I don't know, I'm just wondering if there's maybe something with the system. I was thinking the amount of extra water perhaps going into the bulk filling station or something, is that adding pressure, or is it just like, is it normal routine that many breaks, like, seems like there's been quite a few lately, and I don't know if there's a reason we know about.
Short answer is I'm not sure. I doubt that it's the bulk water station because that's just flow of water. I don't imagine down in Lower Milton that would have a direct effect, but I can undertake to have a discussion with, I don't know if DeMario has an opinion on that at all. Nope, so we'll have a conversation and review the number of breaks. So kind of in the Chestnut, Summer Street kind of area. If I was to guess, and I shouldn't, but if I was to guess, I would say that the work that was done in the intersection down there, everything that was put in there doesn't leak anymore, right? And so that might have pressure benefits in the nearby area, which may precipitate other issues being exposed. So let me talk to Chad and DeMario, and we'll see if there's a history that we can detect of increased leaks, and they may have some more informed ideas about the reason why.
Any more questions? Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'm just updating with regard to an issue involving streetlights. And I guess the information that I'm trying to get is who is responsible for for ensuring that the trees that impede hydro and electric lines are kept clear. We have a long-standing issue in my neighborhood, and so since it's in my neighborhood, I'm getting a lot of feedback from neighbors for over a year about a street light that has been burnt out, and the lane, Cottage Lane, half of it is in absolute darkness, and it's a very narrow lane. There's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic. There's a lot of people walking dogs, and you know you walk dogs all day and night. And people continue to come to me, and I have I have encouraged them to reach out to ClickFix. I have gone to ClickFix myself, and the answer that I received was that you have to wait until the company that does the work has enough volume. And so I think everyone's been very patient. But there were tree people in the area this week, and neighbors approached them about the overhanging wires and the entanglement, and they were told that that's the town's responsibility. So they came back to me, and I look like an idiot because I don't think it's the town's responsibility. But the bottom line is, I guess what I'd like to know is, when was the last time that the company that does this work was in the area, and what is stopping this work from being completed?
Your Worship, so just for clarity, I heard two things there. I heard tree trimming and I heard street light out. So those would be two separate issues, but I can bring both to Chad and get you an answer.
Can you turn that on there, Beth?
Sorry, I'm under the impression that anything involving electrified wires is the responsibility of Nova Scotia Power. Am I wrong about that, or is that the case?
No, I don't think you're wrong about that. Are we sure that those wires are electric, or are they communication, or?
I don't, I'm not an electrical engineer.
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm just saying that we're getting mixed messages about what the actual problem is and why it's not being fixed.
Right.
And the messages keep making me look as though I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'd like to know what I'm talking about. I need clarity so that I can communicate that to the residents. And I'm sure that they'll be patient and wait, but I need to know so that I can inform them.
Very good.
Good. Any more questions on this one? Planning and Economic Development, so Natalie's not here, but the report is. So I was looking for Main Street. I was looking for the sand store. I guess I'm looking for timelines, but that wouldn't be in here. I'm looking for a timeline on getting the old Metropolitan kind of up and going. Has been like that for quite some time, and I'm just thinking there's a couple businesses, the dentist, is kind of filling up, but I don't know that people can see, like there's a new toy store in there, and they can't see it because everything's covered with everything else. Councillor Lesser?
Just on table 2 in her report, it's just impressive when you see the numbers, the number of units for building permits that were issued in 2020, 17, and then 19, and then 14 in the following years, and then 7. And we know that that was a time of a housing shortage. And then 2024, 25 of them, and 2025 so far this year, 54. And it's impressive to see the amount of activity that's happening. And it's, you know, if you drive around town, I do a drive every Saturday night with my mom after I drive her to church. I don't go with her, but I drive her home, and we always do a drive and look at the amount of buildings being built. And it's impressive, and kudos to this department and staff that are working to get more building permits issued.
Just for the record, the driving somebody there counts. Go ahead there, Dave.
Just a comment too, I noticed that we reached 50% on the missing middle units. So it's already 50% of where we want it to be. And I was speaking to Natalie actually last night at the high school. She was there with her exchange students, and just kind of catching up on things and chatting. And she said that like the time frame goes to 2028 too. So to already be there, I think we're off to a good start. So I know there's a lot of work that went into that, but it's nice to finally see the results.
You know, I think the chatter's down about housing as well. I think when people see the work that's being done and the hope, that's right, you just need those shovels. Any more questions on this one? Okay. Engineering, and DeMario is here. Any questions for DeMario? Anything you needed to share with us? How's it going on Water Street? Good? Because that's twofold, isn't it? It's the building and, I can't remember.
I'm just going to stand up if that's okay. Water Street had a good meeting with the consultant Stantec today, and we expect IFC's issue for construction drawings today. So the contractor, Aberdeen, will be able to start their manufacture of manholes. So it takes about a week to manufacture the manholes, and then he'll be ready to go after that. So he just has to pick a date.
You have to manufacture manholes?
Yes.
Like, not the cover, like you have to.
That the whole, yes.
So, okay, well, I just thought they were a standard, yeah,
Precast, yeah, but they still have to do some customization to it.
okay. All right, any questions on that one? Or anything else? Okay.
Perfect,
Thank you. Finance. Mr. Varon is here. Any questions for Jerry? Or anything you need to share? How are we doing, Jer? Just come up if you have good news. If not, we don't really need a report. Got you? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, the auditors, they're unsure if they'll finish in the next week or 10 days. And if it doesn't happen, some of their staff are off for 2 weeks after that. So we either get it done in the next week or it'll be 3 weeks from now. So that's kind of where the audit sits at this point. The other thing that I did want to mention, and it is in the report, is with the funding. So there is going to be a request for temporary borrowing resolution. And again, I'll meet with Mark when he gets back for the Mariner Center project, and we'll determine when the project looks like it's going to get finished up, and if I can get that request or the funding within that 12-month period, we'll just have to do the one, and it'll be dealt with all at once. So that's the plan on there. As far as the year goes, there's so many moving pieces. But we're not in bad shape. There's probably only about 3 things that I know have happened in the first 6 months that weren't planned. A couple of good, one not so good. They kind of offset each other mainly. But, yeah, the rest of it is still moving parts, so, yeah, the one thing that I do know that did happen, like I was saying, I'll mention, is that, the RCMP bill for the first couple quarters came in higher than we expected, but I think we have a little more staff than normal down there, so we have, the ability to have up to 17. We typically budget for about 14, because that's how many we typically will have, and we pay for what we have. But I think they came in at about 14 and a half for the first 6 months, so a full-time position down there on their bill for the year equates to about $150,000, $60,000 a year for us. So if we're off by a full position, that's your variance.
So I was just going to mention this near the end of the month. I can't remember the date, Jeff, but we have, Minister Drouin's gone and Minister Armstrong's in. So we have a meeting with him and his team. So it's probably, I'll have to take a look at that date, but it'd probably be very important for you to be there.
Okay?
It's a policing, and anybody, Kelly, because you're on policing, you might want to, whoever else is on policing, or anybody that wants to be there, we'll get that out. Yeah, we'll want to understand, and I think we won't get that qualified answer on what does the change in any kind of a funding model look like, saying this is going to be long-term. It's going to take, a couple of years just to work through everything, meet with everybody, put everything together. So, but I think the more often they hear that question, that's it. What's it going to cost us? What's the difference? Then we just need to, you would be better at the questions than
Okay, sure.
I would. I can't touch that. But anyway, Lindsay can let you know when that is, or,
That's November 12th at 1:30,
oh, it's that soon? Okay,
couple weeks.
okay. Would you mind sending that to all the council? They asked Jeff and I, but I can't see why everybody can't be there if they want to be there. Yeah,
Okay, sounds good.
more opinions, more voices. Okay, anything else for Jerry?
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, and Yarmouth Recreation? Frank's away. Met some of young Franks. Frank's counterparts yesterday, I did a keynote for Recreation New Brunswick, and some of the Recreation Nova Scotia people were there, which surprised me, but we're all dealing with the same issues. So we can find him. Go ahead, Derek.
Just a comment about the Hebron complex. I finally got a chance to go and see the renovations, and the bathrooms are incredible. Like, actually better than our lobby bathroom, which is saying something. They're very nice. Pretty close to about the same, I think. And the accessibility is, like, they've done a lot of work to build that grade up. I do have to talk to Frank or somebody to let them know that the button for the wheelchair is not working. And what's that? We're still working on it. Okay, I figured that. But anyway, so it's amazing what they've done with that building, and it looks really good now.
That's awesome to hear. I haven't been out, but I figured you'd be keeping an eye. Oh, excellent. Good stuff. Okay, anything else there, folks? We're good? Okay, and then business. 9A, healthy eating in municipal recreation settings policy. So the first recommended motion is to recommend the council repeal the healthy eating in municipal and recreation settings policy. Moved, seconded. Any discussion on this one? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. And the second one is to recommend that council adopt the healthy eating policy. We got a mover on that one? Deputy and Councillor Gill? Okay, go ahead, because I learned something new about this today.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm very happy to see this. I will admit, when I read it backwards, and I thought the old policy was the new policy, and I was like, that's way too cumbersome. As someone who deals in food a lot, often the perfect world scenario that we would like to happen and the practicality of the cost of things and doesn't always come into effect. And I'm just glad to see that this is a little more hands-off, but also still gives thought to, where we can and when it's affordable. And, we should try to do the healthy things, but I've worked in organizations where the policy is so thick and so, strict that you can't do the things that you want to do. So I think this is really great. It gives a little wiggle room in there for some real practical and thinking ahead, but it still gives honor to the fact that we should, keep our eyes on health when we can. So I will be supporting this and happy to see it.
So I couldn't have said that any better. We both read it the same way because I had said to Jeff either yesterday or today, I said, I can't support this. I need rink fries, right? It's like a rite of passage, right? It's not even about the unhealthy food. It's what you do. And, but when he said, no, it's the healthy options that should be available, that's really important. Go ahead, Councillor Gill.
Yeah, I must admit that I'm happy to see this change as well, because I think I sat in on the discussions when they formed that, when they first drafted that bylaw, and it caused things such as hot dogs to be removed from menus. And it also said you can't serve cake. So cake was off the cake. So Recreation Department had their hands tied, and you couldn't celebrate Canada Day, for example, with a cake, but you could do it with slices of watermelon. Anyway, I think it had gone too far. And ironically, though, they had left chocolate milk in there, and chocolate milk was on the same score as hot dogs as far as being non-nutritional. However, the reason it was left in there is because the milk people were sponsoring an event down here all the time, and they were handing out free chocolate milk. Seriously, so I had a real issue with it back
That's an
then.
issue.
I'm glad that we've moved in this direction, because I think sometimes you can't dictate. And encouraging healthy eating, I can tell you that when I first started at the Mariner Center, we probably sold carbonated beverages about 2 or 3 to 1 to water. And by the time I left, water was about 4 to 1 for carbonated beverages. So people are making their good choices without us forcing them.
That's right. So it works. I remember the seniors picnics when I first started, and it was always, so hot dogs and cake. And then I went up one day after a policy, and it was watermelon and whole wheat sandwiches. And the response of the seniors at the picnic was like, I want my hot dog and I want my cake. So I ran down to the dinner plate and I got some hot dogs. And whoops, I shouldn't have done that. But, I did. People were happy. Or try, when you're trying to do a fundraiser for a school soccer team on whole wheat pizza and smoothies. It just wasn't working, so this is good. Any more comments on this one? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. We've got idling control bylaw. The recommended motion there is to recommend the council repeal the idling control bylaw. Okay, moved, seconded. Any discussion? Price of gases. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Okay, council remuneration report. So we've got that. Doesn't say any, yeah, go ahead, because it
Can I-
doesn't have anything
Can
by
I
it.
speak to it? So council had asked for this. And so some of you have met Craig with, with Peak, thank you very much. Craig did this work, and he did the work in the way that typically these assignments are undertaken, and it is looking at comparators. So if you were going to look at my salary, you'd probably look at salary of other CAOs. That's a pretty good place to start. It makes a lot of sense. The situation, I think, with with councils and with mayors and deputy mayors is that you guys set your own remuneration, which I'm sure is an incredibly awkward thing that every elected official feels. And the evidence of that would, I guess, would be if you look at the provincial government, how many provincial governments we went through where they froze remuneration because it's just not politically popular a thing to do. And so there's, from my point of view, there is a natural suppression or tendency to be behind in terms of the remuneration of elected officials for that political and awkward reason. And so Craig and I had some discussions during his time doing this about how exactly is the best way to do this, and there's no simple answer. He did, I think, the best he could with what he had to work with. But I actually got a quick email from Craig this week, and it was a direct response to him reading the article in All Nova Scotia, speaking to the threats that our mayor received, and Craig's comment was, well, there's something that isn't considered in remuneration. And that has prompted me to speak on this today, and that is that, you know, there's an expectation from the public that you'll step up and do these part-time roles, and in the case of mayors, probably more full-time, and that you will take an unusual amount of abuse. You know, and when it comes to defamation and slander, it's a different standard for elected officials than it is for people in the general public. If you're the chair of the museum board and somebody goes on social media and rips you apart, you do have some recourse. But if you're an elected official, you don't. You don't have the same. You're expected to take that and on the chin, grin and bear it. You're a public official. And so, you know, I thought about Craig's comment. I think that it's true, is that you do have an extraordinary role in the community. You know how much work it is, and we're fortunate to have people step forward each election and put their names on ballots and be willing to take the abuse. I look at the town of Bridgewater, and they did something what I think is extraordinary and brave, in that they decided to compensate their mayor at a level that is probably more in line with the responsibilities of the job. The mayor of Bridgewater, I believe, is paid almost $20,000 a year, more than the mayor of the town of Yarmouth. And I can't tell you, I could not come up with a reason why that would make any sense, that the town of Yarmouth mayor would be paid $20,000 less. When I think about, and Pam's heard me say this before, so it's my turn to embarrass her. When I talk about mayors and their effect, you know, the mayor spoke out last week about a regional issue that was affecting another municipality, but she spoke out because her voice is loud and it has effect. And some of you saw online the amount of support that fell in line behind her that were probably silent up to that point, and we had a council nearby that was struggling with an issue, and I think she took some of the let some of the air out of the balloon, took some of the pressure off. When I think about mayors and their influence, I've told Pam this, I think that she's probably the most influential mayor in Eastern Canada. When you think about mayors who can speak up and be heard, who can call the premier or any cabinet minister, who, you know, she sits on federal municipal board, provincial municipal board as president. She has a lot of influence, and I think we're very fortunate, and I think that we ought not be afraid to say, when we have that caliber of a candidate or a person in the role, that we ought to compensate fairly, and if we want the next person who considers that role to be willing to give up full-time employment, because frankly, you can't do that job and have full-time employment. The demands of it are too great. The number of hours and times she's expected to be in places at meetings and so on during the day, you're either retired or you're self-employed. So my recommendation to you is to consider what the town of Bridgewater has done and to match it in the town of Yarmouth, and to do so in recognition not only of the person and the way the role is being filled today, but in the way that you want it filled in the future. I don't usually get preachy with council because you guys are here to debate among yourselves, but I know how awkward this is, and I felt I wanted to speak to that in light of the email I received from Craig this week and my reflections on that.
Well, you did embarrass me, and I didn't expect that. Thank you. Go ahead.
So do I wait to speak about this after the recommendation is made, or? I have trouble with this one. Nothing to do with you personally. A couple things. If the next mayor is not as influential, do they take a pay cut? If it's based on something that's so subjective, that's a minor issue for me. My issue is, I don't know if it's an issue, my concern is we've had to raise taxes in this town lately, and I don't think it's a good look that we would increase our pay or anyone around this table's pay. Not that it may not be deserving. I just think we're all taking a hit. We all pay taxes, and every voter out there is paying taxes, and every homeowner is paying taxes, and I just don't think it's a time right now, personally, to increase anybody's wages. I don't feel great about saying that, but that's how I feel.
We make decisions.
Yeah.
Put it all on the table. So your first question, when I've given it some thought, I just thought, do you scale it? Like, do you say this is the base and then scale it after 13 years of experience, or whatever, not 13, but, over experience and all those pieces, but it doesn't cover the second piece. Deputy?
One of the things I read in the report that some municipalities don't allow raises for basically sitting council. They wait until almost the election and then they do it for the next. I really like that idea. Once again, no disrespect to the work or the great job that people do around this table, but I do struggle with this one as well. It's not anything about being self-righteous or a hero, but at the end of the day, I do find it hard personally to talk about a raise. I do notice the deputy mayor is a little bit higher than the percentages of other places, and I myself am happy to do this job for this price or even a little less. If it meant something going to somebody else, I'd be more than fine with that. But I really like that idea of things, and I just think that's smart. It looks forward, and if the raise isn't liked by the community when you put your name on the ballot, you probably won't be reelected. So at the end of the day, you're responsible to the people who are paying the taxes as well. So that's just my thoughts.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
So thank you. I do like what the deputy mayor said and what was suggested, I think, during the process, that this council would not increase council wages until the very last meeting after the end of our term. So in other words, we wouldn't be voting a raise for the people sitting at this table. We'd be voting, or any salary increase that might be there, any honorarium, would only take effect with the council being elected. And I like that. I think that should be a policy, that we do this every 4 years. We reflect on it, and you set the rates for the incoming council, not for yourself. And that takes the sting out of it for me. When I supported this the idea of having this consultation, the consultant do this work, I wasn't doing it because I was looking for more money for me. And I'll say that out loud. I wasn't looking for more money, and I'm very happy with the fact that if we have an average in the province or something that's recommended, happy to live with that. The reason I supported it is I didn't think, quite honestly, that the mayor's position was, because it is a full-time position, I've seen that over the last 5 years, that this is a full-time job for you. And I don't think that the compensation is reflective of the fact that you have a full-time job. So my only reason for supporting the study in the first place was because I thought that perhaps we should really reflect on the amount of work that you do and the fact that it is a full-time job, and I don't think there's too many people that are going to leave a full-time position to be the mayor of the town of Yarmouth for the money that's being offered.
Good. Okay. So I don't know what we do with, go ahead.
I think I already spoke the first meeting about my thoughts on it, so I'm not going to rehash those, but it does seem strange, and I've been looking at it online trying to figure out if maybe AI could help me convince me that there was something wrong with the fact that you would vote on your own. Like, it just inherently seems wrong that you would do that. And I know when other governments do it, like, I'm the first to criticize, like, how can you go in and give yourself a raise? And it's just too bad that there wasn't another mechanism where somebody outside can determine that and take that off of the people. Because I do think that there are times that there are probably councils that are not doing this. And when you go through and you look at some of the reports that have come out the last few years, I think like 2019 there was one, and it talks about some councils chose not to and some councils chose to. And I think a lot of the reasons councils choose not to is because it looks bad. Like, it doesn't look great when you're giving yourself a raise. And I think with probably every municipality facing that same challenge, it seems like there should be a better mechanism in place to take that conflict of interest. I actually thought, when I first read this again, I think I maybe should declare a conflict of interest. And that's when I started looking it up, and it says you can't because it's, you do decide your own. So, yeah, I like the idea of looking at, like, as Councillor, a few people have said, looking at moving forward and what the next councillor or mayor would make, to me makes sense at that point. But at the same time, we don't know what shape financially that council would be in. So it might be a little difficult if they come into, a pay increase that they feel like they can't handle. And I know we're not talking a lot of money, but I know this year with the budget, we were looking at, thousands in some cases of where we wanted to make cuts. So, yeah, I think the whole process is difficult for councils to do.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Worship. So I think I'll start by saying that I think that this particular mayor in this particular time has been transformational for the town of Yarmouth. And that for me is a lodestone. That is a reality. I've had the privilege of being here for a long time and being a student of municipal politics, and I am aware that to the degree that anyone in Canada and around the world thinks about Yarmouth, and it's not a lot, but to the degree that anyone thinks about Yarmouth, that Mayor Mood has transformed that thinking from being a place that is dying to a place that is energized and creative and resourceful and resilient. And so I am extremely grateful for the energy and the passion the competency that the mayor has brought to this role. I'm also aware in reading through the report that, we're somewhere in the midline in Nova Scotia for compensation, and that there are some outliers. And so I think what the report is telling us is that most municipalities in the province do not consider their mayor to be a full-time position. And I guess the question for us to ask is, do we feel that our town deserves a mayor who treats the job as a full-time position? And I'm really torn because, we are 8,000 people, and we carry above our weight, but should we be listening to what the position is, or should we be listening to what the person in this position has done to this community? And it's a really difficult place to be in, and I don't have a problem with being the decider, but I do really struggle with the idea that this report is, basically what the report is saying, it's good enough. It's good enough. We're good enough. Yeah, it's okay. And I'm not sure whether Yarmouth has never just been good enough. Yarmouth is a community that has swung above its weight. For God's sake, we hosted Babe Ruth, for God's sakes. Like, we are a community of strivers, and I think that also describes our mayor. But there is no guarantee that the next mayor who is elected to council is going to take the same position and role. We can hope that the mayor is mentoring through her actions the next person to sit at the council table, but the question for us as a council is whether or not the position, what is the position, what's the value of the position? And I like the scope ladder concept, but this isn't a popularity contest, and yeah, so that wasn't very helpful, I guess, because I'm really torn. Thank you.
It is to get the thoughts. It is to get the thoughts out. Go ahead.
Thank you. For me, again, everybody, you can tell, obviously, we're all very uncomfortable with the conversation in and of itself. One thing that I wanted to contribute is when any of us ran, we certainly weren't checking how much it paid before we ran, because that's not what we run for. That's not the point of what we're doing here. And so for me, I'm fine with raising the numbers at the end of a term. That does seem very, very sensible. Voting in your own range of salary seems very, very uncomfortable. So that does make me comfortable. It is the mayor part that I struggle with, because the mayor is a full-time job. It has become a full-time job under our current mayor, to the point where I can't imagine it not being a full-time job, to be honest with you. And in looking at those wages, I wouldn't do it for that number. It's not worth it. I would be giving up too much in terms of salary, for one thing, because most people make more than that. And for me, it's the amount of abuse you take during the course of what you're dealing with that You almost deserve danger pay, I swear to God, which makes it something else. To me, I'm fine with what I get paid. Never really thought about it. Wasn't aware of what I would actually be making until I got a payment and thought, well, okay. But none of us, certainly, I'm sure, looked to see what it paid before we did it. It's a part-time position that you take because of your passion, because of what you want to do for the town and your feeling that you can contribute something. So that's kind of beside the point. It's the mayor part that bothers me, because that's not enough. It's not enough no matter who you are, in my mind. And we do have a particularly gifted mayor who's done an enormous amount. Perhaps the idea of some kind of a scaling system may be worthwhile. And I can't answer that. I don't know. But to me, the mayor number is woefully under-financed at this point. Thank you.
Go ahead, and then I'll say.
Yep, I'd just like to say one other thing, because I've heard the notion, and I said it myself, about the mayor role being full-time. And I've been here for going on 22 years. And I started with Charles Crosby. Charles Crosby was the mayor, and obviously here when Phil Mooney was the mayor, and now Pam. And I've said this to Pam before, is that every mayor that I've had the privilege to work with has put an incredible amount of time into it. And they've done it in their own style and in their own way, but they have all put an incredible amount of time in. And I remember when Charles was the mayor, and he was my first mayor, it was just so abundantly clear that you had to be retired or you had to be available all the time in order to do that job. And Phil was the same way. Phil was here a lot, and that meant a lot. And it means a lot. You know, our current mayor is here a lot. I can't imagine, you know, for the amount of stuff that we do and the demands on the mayor's office, that could be achieved on top of a full-time job. And so I want to say Mayor Mood does an excellent job in terms of committing to it, but so did previous mayors. This is not a new phenomenon, that this is really full-time. That has been the case for a long time. And I just want to acknowledge those former mayors, because they put a lot of work into it as well, and didn't want that to be missed. So I did hear a few things, and I know this is an awkward conversation for you guys.
Awkward for me.
So I heard a few things. I heard scale. I heard outside body. That's been done in other places, and there are models there that we could look at. And I've heard a few say that it would take some of the awkwardness away if we were looking forward as opposed to looking at ourselves. So, you know, if somebody, and I know you want to speak as well, and probably others will as well, but if there was some kind of motion in terms of direction for staff to develop policy, I heard policy mentioned, we could go from a report to a policy proposal in front of you to consider. So just need some direction.
Yeah, no.
Well, and if you're not comfortable with it today,
Yeah.
if you want to reflect on it, you can receive it, place on file, you can table it to a future meeting, whatever your pleasure.
And then I'll say something before we, go ahead.
Sorry, I just have a question. We paid a chunk of change for that report. Are we saying we don't agree with the report now? It's just a question.
Well, what I said off the top is that it's a difficult thing to do. Well, look, the normal process for doing these is to look at comparators. And what I said off the top, I believe is true, is that, and you're feeling it right now in this discussion, there's an awful awkwardness of elected officials to set their own compensation. But that's the way it's done. And so there's a natural sort of suppression to that. Nobody's gone and looked at the job of a councillor or a mayor and said, okay, look at the pieces of this job, what are the skills, and what are those skills worth? That wasn't done. Craig emailed me this week in light of the very significant abuse that elected officials take, and he reflected on that, and he said, that's not considered in the compensation review, right? And that got me thinking more about that side of it. But so do I think the report is good work for what it is? Does it address the value of the roles? I don't think that it does. I think what it tells you is what the market is. And those might be two different things.
I think a policy is necessary, and I think generally around the table, everybody agrees that at the council level, at counselor level, the 4-year, doing it in the last meeting of your term, is probably a good idea, and it would be satisfactory to the public. I really enjoyed listening to the comments around the table, and that'll give me an opportunity to reflect further on it, and I think we should table it for another meeting, just to give us time to give it some serious second thoughts.
Do I get to speak before you table it?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm not making it a motion, just a suggestion.
I'm just going to share some thoughts, because everybody did. I'm going to make a correction off the bat, or whatever you want to call it. So number one, this is not awkward for me at all. But I knew it would be awkward for you all, because when I said we need to take a peek at this, there wasn't a peep. Usually everybody makes a motion second. There was nothing. And then I remember at that meeting saying, never mind, it's about me. It's about the mayor's, not about me, but about the mayor's position. Never mind council. You guys seem to be fine. You seem to be fine. So I knew it would be awkward for some. I think, and I'm not saying it's not the right thing for the right reason for some folks, but for me, the right thing for the right reason is to compensate people where they belong, whether it's council or staff or the mayor or anybody else. And I understand the difficulty with looking like, what's the public going to think? I care what the public thinks, but if we make our decisions based on, are they going to get upset, then we're really walking a fine line of making the right decisions with the right things behind it. So I'm going to start by saying, this is not about money for me, not at all. I'm okay for money. I don't need more money. What it's about is the effort and the work that has to be done. And as we always say, like equal work for equal pay. So are we sitting around this table, and these are the difficult conversations because sometimes they get taken the wrong way. Are we all sitting at this table doing equal work for equal pay? And I'm having a difficulty with that one because if I'm going to, and I've been doing it for 13 years, but no, I haven't. For a lot of years, I've been going to, 95% of all the events, the birthday parties, the celebrations, the Lions Club, like just everything. I can't remember the last New Year's I had off. I can't, I just don't get a Friday night or a Saturday night or a Sunday, even in the summer. And when I say I mean in the mayor's position. If you're doing what's expected of you, that's just the way it is. So how do you, if that's part of the expectation of the public, then the public should be expecting to pay for that. And I don't disagree with the 4 years, because this is not about me. This is about somebody coming into the position that's going to be able to give the position what it deserves, because you're saying, you know what, we appreciate what's being done because somebody has to do it, it's your position, and we're going to compensate you for that. And a mayor is never going to, we're never going to get paid what we're worth. I mean, I look at the mayor at Halifax and Cape Breton, they just don't. The CAO gets, his pay is high because he's doing all the administrative work. The mayor's doing the political work when it comes to working ministers and other mayors and federal governments and those pieces. So they all fall part and parcel, the building relationships that matter to us. And the transforming, the reason I ran in the first place, I don't know what I'm saying, I'm just going to say it all. The reason I ran in the first place is because we know what Yarmouth was like then. And I think you needed somebody that could lead, but you need somebody that can lead that isn't afraid to say, this is what we need to be, even in the face of when the public gets angry, that we say we have to do the right thing in this moment, even if they're angry. And if we're going to social media for that, then we're in the wrong place. But if you're talking to people on the street and they're still angry, we still have to do the right thing for the entire community. So I know I've done that. Anyway, the abuse is, it's funny, Jeff, you mentioned that. I got a lot of calls about that, and by no means am I the only mayor or elected official that's taken abuse. But I've done it, and I've laughed and I've said for years, you get elected new in the mayor seat, and then a year later, you're like that Christmas toy from last year, you're thrown in the corner, and it's all bets off, and anything that happens, it's the negative that hits you. Mayor Mitchell in Bridgewater, he said, sometimes we're like the goalies. If you win, what a great team effort. Like the council wins, and that's fair. That's how we've always done that. But if you lose and you make a mistake, the mayor takes the hit, which I'm good at taking hits. I think you guys can admit to that. I'm really good at taking hits and giving it back sometimes where it's needed. But all that stuff puts us in the front of everything. So it's not about compensation, except that be very careful that who's going to come in next that's going to do the work, or that has the ability financially to do the work for very little compensation. And that's okay. We get what we get, and that's all right. But at least, every 4 years maybe have the ability to say, you're really punching above your weight, or things are moving great and you're making connections, whatever it is. And that makes the difference. And then, compensate them or do something to say. The other piece of the abuse is I say abuse, but whatever it is, whether it's a little hit or a big hit, if you're going to take all the hit, then anyway, we need some support. We need to figure out some ways to support things. I don't know. I looked through this, and I did say the first thing I said to Jeff, and we haven't discussed this at length because I've been away, but I said this report made very little sense to me. It was like, I don't know, it was like Sidney Crosby plays hockey, and the last guy that came to the team that plays hockey too. It's two different things depending on who you are and what you do. It's not equal. It's not equal in Annapolis to Yarmouth, or Yarmouth to Bridgewater, or Bridgewater to Halifax. It's not equal. So just comparing those things was just wrong. And I did say, I think I wrote it on the side of one page, I said, what about, effort? So when I look through this, and I look through the numbers, and you all know I'm not a numbers girl, but I think somewhere in here it's saying, just put it on the table, so the counselors and the deputy, when it comes to averaging things out, are higher, and the mayor's lower. And I'm like, I'm just going to be blunt. Like, I can't keep doing what I'm doing at the pace I'm doing it without everybody at the table putting in what we can, because it's all about effort. We just need to we just need to be, all the work needs to be on the table, and of course, I'm gonna do the heavy load, because that's my job when it comes to those other things, but anyway, I just need you to know, this is not about having to go out to the public and saying, but it's about figuring out a way to, you know, equity, I don't know, is it equity for work, what is it? Like, I don't know, I don't even know how to frame it. So maybe we need to, the other thing is, maybe we need to, and maybe we not, maybe we need to look at job descriptions, because I don't think we've done it with any council, really, to sit down and say, these are the expectations, and this is where we have to step in. So as the mayor, this is what I'm expected of. As council, this is what you're expected of. As the deputy, these are the extra things that have to happen, so that we understand, and the next council understands, these are the expectations. And because there's people out there that will run the next time, and they're not, really, they don't even know. They just say, it'd be cool to sit on council because I don't think we're doing enough paving. And we've heard that, like I'm going to sit on council because we're not paving enough or whatever. And that's not what it's about. Nobody here has ever done that. So anyway, just so we're clear, it's not about money. It's about the work that has to get done in the run of a day to keep this place going on the political level and the public level, and keeping those connection with the public. We just need to make sure that we're all rowing in the same direction. If you want to look at this in a couple of years, or maybe like 6 months or something before we finish, see what you think, because I have no problem with that. But in the meantime, we've got to get down for the next council. These are the expectations. I probably got more to say, but that's all I'm going to say. So I'm good. Oh, sorry, Cal. Go ahead.
To be clear, are you talking about, when you talk about roles and responsibilities, for this seat as the mayor, not your NSFM stuff on the side? Like, this is just for Yarmouth Town?
I know what I do as NSFM. I
But
know what the roles
the
are.
pay increase eventually would just be for these responsibilities. And
Yeah.
you, speaking of council stepping up and maybe playing a greater role, would be in conjunction with this seat as the mayor.
Yeah, I think there's maybe not an understanding of everything that has to be done, or what expectations are. And so can we get that down so that we all understand this is,
I have no problem supporting this for the next council. I personally cannot support it for an immediate change with a tax increase in the same year. That's just, and I'm not worried about what people think. I just don't think it's
no.
kosher.
And I don't care about, I mean, he did say, like, there's $2,000 to even it up to where it's at least average. I'm just not, I just look at how these numbers are figured, and like, how do you I can't justify it. I can't justify the numbers the way they are.
I guess for Bridgewater, maybe there are other variables in place there that maybe they have greater access to money, and maybe they're not as tight as we are. Who knows? Those would be good questions to find out the answers to.
It was, just so you know, it went to Derek's point, that they got the public to do this. They didn't, because sitting here, and we've all said it, and Jeff said it, it's hard to say to the public, we're giving ourselves a raise. We deserve it, but we're giving ourselves a raise. I have no problem with that, but I'm so used to taking a beating over walking down the street, doesn't matter. So it's just,
I think it takes away a lot of that awkwardness, or I think it's more than that. If, like Gil and Steve, if it was for the next council, we were deciding because none of us are guaranteed to be back, and then it would be much less it would be selfless in that respect. People would make it look, it would be, we wouldn't be doing it for.
No, and I've said, like, I don't care. It can be every 4 years, but there comes a time where we have to figure out, how are you going to do this? You can't. We've got to get to a point, and maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe this happens everywhere, But we have to get to a point where the work done is related to what you're getting paid. And I don't mean in monetary, I don't mean in like equal pay dollars, give us a raise. I mean, it could be you guys get $20,000 and I get another number. So it's not about bigger numbers, it's about evening out.
You're not getting my pay, Pam.
Huh? No, I don't want your pay. I don't want your pay, but I'd at least like to have, you know, the average of the mayors. I'm not even getting that. Yes.
Sorry, again.
Oh, you go ahead.
I guess I misread the report. I thought you were okay, the deputy was okay, we were okay, but the discrepancy between ours and yours was
Okay.
less than some places, but that was because we were higher than some places. The bottom was moved up.
Yeah, so you can probably do the numbers better, Jeff, but what I read, and I stand corrected, what I read was when they start to do the average of across municipalities, our councilors are higher, our deputies higher, our mayor's lower. And I'm like, how, and that's just in pay, and then in the discrepancy, yeah, it's lower.
I don't know what I read. I guess
I gotta-
I misunderstood because
I
I
gotta
thought,
find it.
I thought the margin was more narrow between our pay and yours than most places. But that was because we, as in councilors, not deputy, not mayor, were higher in average than most. So the bottom of that floor was raised so that there was less space between the
So-
floor and the ceiling.
Percentage differential between positions. Mayor versus councilor, we're at 74%, 74.6. The average is 82.49. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Yours is, the council pay is a higher percentage. So if this is average, yours is here, my mayor's is here. And I'm like, how is that? Well, it's in here. So it says here, proposed adjustment. And again, listen, this is not about money for me. I don't need the money. What I need is for increase the mayor's salary from 54.9 to 57.3, which is $2,400, which gets me even, I think, with the average. I'm okay being average, but I'm not okay doing what I do and being below average. And I'm not, like, I'm okay saying that out loud. I'd take a beating, but whatever. Those are where the numbers, I think that's why he came up with $2,400. And $2,400, all that's gonna do is get taken away in taxes. But it also sets somebody up to say, at least you're getting paid half equitably, still not getting paid for the work done, which befuddles me, but anyway, did you find something? No? Okay. There it is, average all municipalities, mayors, 56.7. So I'm not far off, but that's the average. Average deputy, 36. Average counselors, 31. So I think you guys might be right where you're supposed to be. Steve's high, I'm low. So, anyway, there it is, key findings. The mayor's salary is slightly below the average for all municipalities. Deputies is above the average. Counselors is higher than average. So we're going to leave this? We have to do, we can, I don't care if we leave it, but we're going to have to do stuff like job descriptions and stuff like that because we've got to figure this out. Go ahead, Wade.
So I'd like to make a motion that we sit on this for a little while, because I think we talked a lot, and I'd like to be able to, kind of vegetate upon it for a little while. So can we table it? But also, I'd like to make a motion. This part of it, I'm happy to table, but I really think there should be some kind of a policy in place that we have, other than the policy that says this is what you get paid. There needs to be a policy in place where we go through a process that that kicks in at certain times where we don't have to worry so much about it. And I'm not even sure what that's going to look like, and I hate to send something back to staff, but we really do we seem to be wanting, when it comes to some kind of a policy, when it comes to remuneration, for what it's worth. So I'll make a motion that we table the actual discussion until maybe the next committee of the whole, or the one after, perhaps, whatever it takes, maybe the next one.
Till the new year, maybe?
Well, let's do that. Let's do it until the new year, and then look at it again. But I would like to see policy in place of some kind. So maybe we can maybe I can make that motion, and then a motion to send it back to staff, that we take a look at what policy we actually have in terms of looking at remuneration. So I guess that's two motions. Sorry.
Pick one for.
Number one. I do number one.
Okay. Did you need to speak? Oh, okay, you can put your, okay, so we're tabling to the new year. Do I need to, when you table it, you don't need a motion, do you? Okay, I was just checking to see if you knew. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Aye, contrary? Motion carried. And did you have a second one? Something about policy? No, what? We tabled this, but did he have one about policy? Do you want to do that then? Do you want to do that in January after we talk about stuff? That's good, January. Is everybody okay with that? And then we can wrap our heads more around stuff. Okay. Huh? Well, some conversations are just going to take longer. Okay. Remuneration policy. Oh, well, sorry, wait, that was the next one. We're just going to skip that. Lights on Jarvis Road. Excuse me, I put that on there. To recommend that council direct staff to investigate the installation of lights on Jarvis Road. Okay, moved and seconded. Okay, and I put it on there because I don't know if you guys are getting phone calls, but it's really dark there, and it's really growing up, so they were just saying, so we'll get staff to take a peek. Anybody else? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, the New Year's levy. So we have the levy every year. It's a town event, and well, now this is awkward after we just had this conversation, but there it is. It costs some money. The people that come love it. It's a town event. Town council we host this. So I need to know before I reach out to because we have to do it now because they get booked, before we reach out to the band and to the food people, are we going to be here from 11 till 1? I know I'm asking a lot ahead of time, but from 11 till 1, and we were talking about even maybe council doing some serving or something like that, and like helping out with the event. I just need to know if that's the case. If it's not, then I'm not going to spend them. I can't do it alone. I'm not going to. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. I think you look like your fingers there. You're looking at me sideways. Oh, wait, sorry. I did press it.
Okay.
It was you.
Well, just so you know, I consulted with my business manager, and we're out of town.
I did know you were out of town.
With sincerest apologies. So I actually am not going to be
Yeah.
around. And I'm usually here for it.
Yep,
But
you were. Good. Go ahead.
So I've always had some concerns about the attendance, that, we got a town of I think 7,000 or more. And I don't think the attendance at the New Year's levy is reflective of the citizens of the town. I also note that people are encouraged to bring a donation to the food bank. And I think if we do have a levy, we should do more to encourage that, because the last 2 years, it's been absolutely pitiful, the amount of donations that have received. I think it was last year, it might have filled 3 of the original soap bags, if you were lucky.
That's it, yeah.
And so I think if you're going to do this, then you're going to do it to contribute to a charitable association, then we should be focusing on that. But overall, I'm not a big fan of spending money to host a very small number of people.
Okay, that's fair. Very fair. Anybody else? Go ahead.
If we have it, I'll go, but I'm probably under the same, actually, for some reason, I was thinking last year it seemed like it was a bigger crowd.
Yeah, it depends on the weather sometimes, and sometimes it's packed in here and it's packed for like an hour. It wasn't, was it? Did we have people last year? A lot of people? Quite a few, yeah? Yeah,
If it's there, I'll be there, but
Yeah.
I'm kind of on the same wavelength. I don't know if we,
well, then we just need to decide if we want to do it. Go ahead, Deputy.
Should maybe we brainstorm to come up with maybe a better idea? I think what Gil said is important. I did notice, the food bank thing isn't really on people's minds and kind of an afterthought. And maybe there's a better way to do it. I'm not saying I have one, but, just maybe take a week or two and maybe discuss it another time to see if there's a better way to do it, or, to see if we could do in partners with. I think the Legion does one the same day. Maybe there's another group that would like to, or groups, maybe some of the people that we'll get for the new 100 meals would want to be
Well,
part,
maybe-
or it could be anything. I just think if it's not the best,
Yeah,
why don't we make it the best?
Then
We can
we-
make those changes. I don't know what they are, but
I don't either, but yeah, if we're going to do it.
let's put on a
with
good
food
show or
stuff,
not
we've
do it
gotta-
at all.
We've
Yeah.
got to do it right.
Yep.
I have no problem. I mean, I'll say a couple things. Number one, tradition is huge in this town. They love the people that come every year, and it's, oh, you're going to have the levy, you're going to have the levy. A lot of seniors, a lot of, people from the military and stuff like that. So they look for that. So I hate to break tradition. We could do it bigger and better and advertise it more and all those things. Or we could also, we can think about it, but we can't think about it long. Maybe we need to just do it at the council table in a couple weeks, because we can't go into December. You won't, for the food, and it's not fair. And then maybe you take $1,000 and donate it to, and say the town is doing this. You know what I mean? Like to support another levy, because they're all over the place. Or you invite, First Nations and Margao and stuff like that, but they come anyway, so. Okay, give it some thought. Yeah, give it some thought and we'll see where we land. And it only matters to me because of tradition, and it's going to be, why did the mayor stop the levy? Well, the mayor did. I couldn't even drive my Chevy to the levy because Yarmouth was dry. Okay, all right, that's fair. We can wait on that one unless anyone's got anything else they wanted to share. Okay. We're going to do 9G in camera. Mariner Center intermunicipal agreement amendment. Do you want to speak to that one? So that's one little change there.
Sure, yeah. So the Mariner Center intermunicipal agreement, this came up as a result of the project to replace the floor, the ice pad in Arena 1, how we were going to pay for that. CAOs put our heads together and said, well, the most transparent and we think a sensible way to approach this is to let Mariner Center have debt on their books, rather than us having debt on our books and somebody trying to understand, what does Mariner Center cost? Well, you'd have to go to 4 sets of financial statements to get the full picture. So the recommendation is that we amend the municipal agreement. That would allow the board at Mariner Center to borrow what they require for that project. It is still subject to each of the 3 councils approving, because Municipal Finance Corporation will not, or it's the organization that now succeeds the Municipal Finance Corporation, can't remember the name, They won't approve the borrowing without the municipal sign-off. So, but what it does do is it puts the full cost of Mariner Center on the books of Mariner Center. So that's what it is, and it would reside as an amendment to the intermunicipal agreement, so it could be used again in the future for another major capital upgrade, whether it's a roof, the other ice pad, or any other improvement that's needed at the facility.
Good? Do we move this?
So what we need is the three,
Did we make a motion? Oh, we didn't? I let you talk before the motion? Thank you. Seconded. Okay?
so this requires the ratification of the three councils. I know that Modi has already approved it, so if you recommend it here, we would be in a position to approve it at the November council meeting.
Okay. Any questions, anyone? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried.
I guess I'm declaring a conflict of interest.
Why? Okay. Wren intermunicipal agreement, and the recommended motion is to recommend that council approve the 2025 to 2030 Western Regional Enterprise Network intermunicipal agreement. Okay, moved and seconded. Go ahead.
So very quickly, the intermunicipal agreement that's been in place in the past has always been a 5-year agreement for funding. And the request is just that we renew that for another 5 years. But there's a few key changes, and they're summarized in the second page of the briefing note. Just to bring them to your attention, one is a review engagement, which is a replacement of the full audit. So in other words, the auditor can just do a review because it would be a lot less work and probably a significant cost saving as well. It says to increase continue the major funding contributions, which increase annually in line with the Consumer Price Index. But it also places a cap to a maximum of 3.25% per year. So in other words, it's going to be up to that amount and not beyond. There's Section 6 is just about the in-kind access for meetings, and it's suggesting that right now, the previous agreement required Wren to place employees across the region. However, that's not really necessary as long as the Wren staff have a presence and a place from which to work. So it's removing that necessity of having employees spread out across the region rather than be centralized in different locations. And it also modifies the recruitment nominating committee to include 2 seats for members of the board of directors. And quite honestly, knowing that this was coming into effect or had been recommended, the board has already recruited 2 people that have a very robust financial background, which is probably the meat of the work that's done by the board. And as I mentioned earlier, it updates the audit committee's responsibilities to reflect the shift from the full audit to the engagement review or review engagement that the province, and this has been authorized by the province of Nova Scotia. So those are the key changes to the agreement. None of them are all that significant, but they just makes the work easier for those at the Wren.
Perfect. Okay, any questions on this one? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Come on back. Municipal Physician Recruitment Committee update. Councillor Hatfield, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is just to update Council that the Physician Retention and Recruitment Committee is in the process of investigating the possibility of an amalgamation with the committee that is headed by the Chamber of Commerce that does the oversight for the community navigator position. And so just to provide a little bit of history, the Municipal Retention and Recruitment Committee was formed in advance of the decision to hire a community navigator to look at how to promote and advance the recruitment of health professionals in the region. And since then, obviously, the community navigator position has been developed and resides the authority for managing day-to-day resides with the Chamber of Commerce Executive Director and is overseen by a Community Navigator Oversight Committee. The Recruitment Committee at the moment is charged with the responsibility of appointing members to that CNOC committee. We have been, as a committee, reduced to essentially receiving the reviews quarterly from the provincial navigator, who has been the provincial recruiter that has been hired in the last few years. And then the community navigator reports twice to us and also to the oversight committee. So the bottom line is we think there's a redundancy there that we can figure out, but it's going to require coming back to council with a draft bylaw, and the concerns of the people around the Municipal Recruitment and Retention Committee are to ensure that the same standards that we use at a municipal level are maintained if we become part of this Community Oversight Committee. So just to let you know that that process is in play, and we're hoping that we can reduce the meeting burden there and create a more efficient and appropriate oversight structure for the community navigator. Thank you.
Thanks, Val. Any questions? Good. All righty. Highway 101 Task Force. So they're looking for somebody to sit on that. Go ahead. I just got to bring it up here.
Yeah, I think the request is for us to signify our agreement to participate.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that from where I'm sitting, we hear they're twinning highways all across the province. It would be nice if there was at least one controlled access highway to Yarmouth.
I just came through New Brunswick yesterday. It's beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah.
And that is a dangerous area.
well, until recent years, I think you went through 12 different speed zones to get from here to Bridgewater.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah,
some of that's been, but the stretch from Marshalltown to Weymouth is definitely a necessity.
yeah, exactly.
So I make a motion that we indicate our agreement to participate in the task force.
Okay. So moved, seconded. Go ahead, Councillor Lesser.
Just the irony of, I sat on Highway 101 and 103 task or committee for 4 years without a meeting. And then we say we're not going to have it anymore, and then we're being asked to do it. But I think it's a worthwhile project, and I would like to be involved if I can. Hopefully it would, depending on when the meetings take place or whatever, I would be willing to help with that.
Okay, so we'll see, we can find, yeah, we'll let you know. We'll find out when the times are going to be, but almost, I would guarantee during the day. I think they were before, but, okay, anybody else? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Okay, installation of information panels. So these are the reports. These are reports. Or there is a report here. Did you want to?
Yep, so there were a couple of motions at the last council meeting regarding panels and lighting. So the first one, if I've clicked on the right link, yep. The first one is about information panels, sort of what does it cost to do one of these interpretive panels that we have mostly along Water Street, but we do have some in other parts of town. So Todd undertook this and gave us sort of ranges of the types of costs. So based on that, I would say that an information panel would typically run $10,000 to $13,000 to be researched, designed, built and installed. So that is for information.
have to do this one?
You-
Oh, we can, yeah, I mean, we can refer this one to budget or see if there's room in the budget, refer back to staff, whatever we want to do. Where are we, Jerry?
Well, just if I may, I
yeah.
think the motion that, or the recommendation that came, I think, from the, well, I know from the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee was to request staff to investigate, so staff investigated. This is cost, so staff didn't investigate, you know, or provide any recommendations here on themes that might appear on there. I wasn't present at the EDI committee meeting, so I don't know, you know, what the vision is, but perhaps if Derek and Steve want to take that back to the committee to further the discussion, that might be an appropriate next step. Is that?
Yep, we can do that. I was just thinking, is there a possibility of having our grants person look, like I'm thinking where's culture, there might be grants available instead of referring to budget if we, I think they're worthwhile, but in a year that we're tight, I don't think we can spend $13,000 on one panel at this point. So I think if there was, I'm thinking there might be grants available to do some of this work.
So I can speak with Muriel. If this is going to go back to committee, I can speak to Muriel about strategy and what might be useful here feeding into the budget process. So maybe it's and I'm just telling you off the top of my head what I'm thinking, maybe it's a proposal to say, here's kind of what we have in mind in terms of some of the themes that could be developed, because you'll need that to apply for a grant, right? You'll have to have fleshed out the idea a little bit. And maybe the recommendation from the committee is that we proceed to seek funding, and if we're able to find funding up to a certain percentage, then we proceed with 1, 2, 3, whatever number of panels referring to budget, if that makes sense. So I'll talk to Muriel, and if you refer back to the committee, and we'll see if we can move this along a little bit.
Good. So do we need to do anything?
Refer back to the committee.
Okay, so a motion to refer back to the committee. Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Excuse me. Number 2, construction battalion monument lighting. Is this the same, basically the same?
Well, this is
Different
a
issue,
little
but-
different. So the motion was to investigate addition of lighting around the 2nd Battalion Monument, as well as an information panel. So what's addressed here is the lighting, and Todd has provided an estimate for about $6,000 to provide the lighting plus any excavation that might be necessary. So that's for information. I'm just checking. He did include the actual quote as well. Yeah. So. Well, I think this one's a little simpler. So is there already an information panel there? There is an information panel there. So this is just the lighting. So this might be something that maybe we'll just table it for now. It's not a huge amount of money, and maybe we get a little further on in the year, we might be able to find the money to do this. Otherwise, just refer it to budget at that time. So maybe table it until January, if that makes sense. And
Good? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Okay, correspondence, additions in camera. Motion to go in camera.